Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everyone who is with us here physically in our beautiful chapel. Those that are joining us virtually, say Shabbat Shalom on the chat to someone perhaps that's surrounding you right now. This is our virtual community, whether you're local in San Diego, you're joining us from somewhere around the country, around the world. We welcome you. It is indeed Shabbat on the West Coast as we enter into this time, a special Shabbat. This is known as Shabbat Shekalim. Shabbat Shekalim, 4 Shabbatot occur around the time of Purim, between this time, and they begin in the month of Adar, leading us to the month of Nisan as we celebrate our Yetziat Mitzrayim, our exodus from Egypt. But something very particular and special about Shabbat Shekalim. In this time, Shabbat, a shekel is a monetary currency that we use in Israel today, but it's also an ancient currency found in Torah times. And in this time, referenced in our Torah, we read very special Torah portions each of these weeks. This week we read from the book of Deuteronomy, Parshat Ki Tisa. And Parshat Ki Tisa, we're noticing and we're remembering and recalling the counting of the Israelites, that they were indeed told to count, not for a census, but in fact they would contribute a half a shekel so that each person knew that they would be part of the community. The counting would take place during the month of Adar, and when they got to the month of Nisan, before we recount the telling of the Exodus, the count would be taken to know how many people truly are part of the community. Each of you are part of our community. You may contribute your half a shekel in many different ways, but all of us, in one way or another, are bound by that understanding. None of us are counted just as a mere number. Each of us have value and worth in this world. Each of us finds some element to nourish us and rejoice in what certainly Beth Israel is and what our Jewish identity inspires in each of us. So tonight we will rejoice, we will celebrate, we will recall loved ones, we will honor their memories, also that we can hold one another in this time, move forward in whatever your contribution, whatever your half shekel may be. Know that as we are on the precipice of Purim, as we are entering today in this new month of Adar, that we amplify and try to find the joy within what we know is a dark and challenging time. So we begin with our candle blessings, our opportunity to light and welcome our Shabbat through keeping and remembering. I invite you to, if you have candles at home, to kindle your lights as well as we join ours with yours.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
We join together as we welcome the Sabbath with our prayers of Kabbalat Shabbat as we welcome the Sabbath. Please join us.
unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. We will sing unto God a new song. Orzaru ala tzadik, u'lishrei lev simcha, simchu tzadikim, Adonai behodu, lezecher kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Adoni v'rakala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Adoni v'rakala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, yishmi'anu el hamichad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'leitila. Adoni v'rakala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Adoni v'rakala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Yitoreri, yitoreri, ki va'orech u'miori. Uri, uri, shidaberi, kevod Adonai alayich nivlav. Adoni v'rakala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Adoni v'rakala b'nei Shabbat nekavela.
Please
We rise and
pray.
face our entrance as we greet the Sabbath bride. Ohi b'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tohola, toch emunei am segula. Ohi chala, ohi chala. B'nei Shabbat nekavela. Adoni v'rakala b'nei Shabbat nekavela.
Having joyfully warmed ourselves up for prayer, we rise if we are able as we recite the Baruch Hu. As we bring on the evening, we join together. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim.
And as we address God's love, we pray responsively. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world. In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment, we stand face to face with truth. At each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder. In each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth.
Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated, and we join together, Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing at the shores of the parted sea, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Israelites proclaimed, who is like you among all the other gods that are worshipped? As we enter into this month preceding our Yetziat Mitzrayim, where are the narrow places we think of spiritually where we've been trapped, where we've been perhaps stuck? Where are the moments in our lives when those we perhaps disagree with, or those that think differently than us, or those that have different perspectives and thoughts in their own lives, where our narrowness holds us back from opening our hearts? In truth, Mi Chamocha reminds us not to harden our hearts. In fact, it reminds us to open them so that we don't get stuck in the Mitzrayim, and that we hope that the softening of the heart allows us to flow more freely into the time of freedom and chirut. We join together. In a moment, we'll recite and sing the Hashkivenu prayer. This prayer is part of a set of rabbinic readings that bracket the biblical text of the Shema during our evening prayers. Its language directs us to envision God as a guide, God as a protector, and God as shelter during the night ahead, with God ultimately watching over each of us. I've always noticed something different, perhaps even a little bit profound, when we both come upon and recite the prayer. While there are prayers throughout our liturgy that feel removed even from the daily flow of our own lives, the Hashkivenu speaks to us in a language and in terms where we can feel a sense of what we call nechemta, or comfort. We ask for God to watch over us and to guard us as we sleep, allowing us to wake up again in the morning restored to life. And boy, doesn't it feel in these moments where that respite, where the lishbot, the ceasing, the stopping, is so very much needed to revive us and awaken us to begin our next day. All the prayers in our Siddur are interwoven with different strands of theology and history, whether at one's bedside or during our prayerful moments as a community. The Hashkivenu speaks to that creative blend of language for our soulful longing. And may it be that we lie down in peace and rise up waiting to life renewed. We join together.
And understanding among us, let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, v'shalom. Hashkivenu.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat l'torotam berit olam, berit olam. השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי
V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat, et Shabbat. Asot et Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם, ברית עולם.
We invite you to please rise if you are able to join us for Amidah, for our standing prayers.
Shalom Rav Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam.
we pause for a moment of reflection. Reflection of individuals in our lives, perhaps ourselves, who are in need of a refuah shlema, refuah tanefesh, refuah taguf, a complete recovery of mind, of body, of spirit. So many in our world are in need of such healing. So many of us, perhaps, not only physically, but spiritually. Time for recovery. Shabbat can serve as that entry point into that spiritual nourishment and repair. But we know that there are those among us who ask for our prayers. And so, as before we read the names that have come to us, I invite you at this time to share their names aloud in your homes of loved ones that you're thinking of at this time, or put them in the chat, so we may hold them collectively as a community as well. Our congregational community is thinking of Phyllis Bendit, Norman Berman, Sandy Berman, Leslie Cohn, Melvin Cohn, Samantha Farouche, Gad Ben Irav Israel, Shirley Gouland, Denise Garrick, Evie Golden, Nancy Gordon, Steve Gould, Harav Esther Batrut, Ellen Hutt, Heidi Krantz, Nikki Levy, Nessa Bat Yosefa Shoshana, Rhonda Schwartz, Ruth Batsara, Sandy Shearer, Patricia Spira, Sharon Thomas, Maxine Trimble and Gerald Trimble, David Tossman, Fred Valfer, Kathy Weil and John Weil, and George Wise. For them and all those named, we hold each of them in our hearts as we join together for a prayer of healing, a prayer of Mishaberach.
Lehi
Shabbat Shalom. In a moment, we're going to offer our blessing for welcoming the new moon, as today marks the beginning of the Hebrew month of Adar. Adar is a particularly special month. It is sometimes called a pregnant month because when we have a leap year in the Hebrew calendar, which is an adjusted lunar calendar, we add an additional Adar. This is the month where we observe Purim, the most joyous holiday of our calendar. Our sages teach that when Adar enters, our joy increases. We are commanded to be happy. It's quite a reflection on us as a people that Jews have to be commanded to be happy. And when we're happy, we tend to focus less on worries and stresses in life. And as we enter Adar, we also break free from the winter weather and burst into spring. It's also worth observing that in the Torah's counting, this is the last month of the Hebrew year. Just like many of us did on December 31st, 2020, we end the year with great joy as we prepare to begin the year with Passover, our holiday commemorating our redemption. Part of our Purim celebration is to wear costumes and masks. But why? Yes, they're very fun, and I can't wait for you to see how we're all dressed up for our Purim spiel. We also conceal our identity, partially because of how God is concealed in the book of Esther. If you were to read through the story, you would notice that God's name is conspicuously absent. It is nowhere to be found. This doesn't mean that God is absent from the story. It just means that God is hiding. God is revealed in the actions of bravery and goodness. Over the last year, each of us has donned physical masks as a way of safeguarding ourselves and our loved ones. Long before the pandemic, and even throughout the pandemic, we have also hidden our vulnerabilities, our perceived faults, and even our true identities behind the masks of social media, fear, and topics you just don't bring up in mixed company. Yet when we take the masks away, more often than not, we reveal goodness and godliness. When our masks are removed, we are able to tap into our potential. We are able to see each other face to face, thereby not just increasing our joy, but increasing our empathy, our compassion, and our ethical responsibility to help our fellows. Indeed, there are revelations that are uncomfortable. There are revelations that lead us to deep, meaningful conversations and actions that originate from a place of vulnerability. These are moments when our eyes are open to the experiences of others, seeing what it's like to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Rabbi Navarez has been leading our Bimakom group in conversations just like these. And when we remove our masks, we replace fear with love. This Shabbat, Jewish communities around the world are marking Repro Shabbat, a day to increase our awareness and conversations around reproductive rights. Repro Shabbat falls on the Shabbat when Jews read the Torah portion Mishpatim, the Torah portion with the verses that form the basis of the Jewish approach to reproductive freedom. The story of an accidental miscarriage that teaches us much about how Judaism does and doesn't regard the personhood of a fetus. We read in this week's Torah portion, when two individuals fight and one of them pushes a pregnant woman and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues, the one responsible shall be fined. As Rabbi Danya Ruttenberg teaches, in other words, if someone accidentally causes a miscarriage to take place, they are obligated to pay financial damages only. This case is not treated as manslaughter or murder, which would demand the death penalty. Our tradition not only permits the termination of pregnancy, but even requires it when the life of the pregnant person is at stake. Pikuach nefesh, saving lives, is a key principle in our tradition, as is upholding human dignity, kavod habriot, and working to make our society more safe and just for all. And the fact of the matter is, it's a part of our lives. 1 in 4 people who can get pregnant will terminate a pregnancy by the age of 45. The issues and challenges surrounding reproduction are present within all of our circles. We all know and love someone who has been affected, whether or not we know it. We know that limiting reproductive health access has dangerous and disastrous consequences. People who are denied access to reproductive health care, disproportionately those struggling financially, Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities, young people, rural communities, immigrants, people living with disabilities, and LGBTQ+ individuals are more likely to live in poverty and to remain in abusive relationships. High rates of unsafe abortions are directly associated with laws restricting access to critical health care. We hope that Beth Israel, our community, your community, is a place where anyone who has or may ever terminate a pregnancy feels loved, welcomed, and supported. This is a place where people understand what our tradition teaches about these issues. And this is a place where we understand the importance of fighting for reproductive health, rights, and justice for everyone. The unfortunate truth is that as a cisgendered, white, straight male, my risks for speaking publicly on this issue are low. Speaking publicly, not necessarily from a place of advocacy, but merely sharing a personal story as it relates to pregnancy termination, postpartum depression, infertility, and other reproductive topics, can have substantial consequences. A few years ago, a good friend and colleague spoke about her experience with postpartum depression during her Yom Kippur sermon, only to find that later that year, her contract would not be extended. I raise this with you on this Shabbat in hopes that it will raise our collective awareness to our stories. Your story matters. Share your story with us, your rabbis. Share your story with your loved ones, with your friends. It's possible that those in your circle had a similar experience, and your openness will help remove the unnecessary stigma and pain. And this is just one example of the countless stories that illustrate why so many prefer to merely put up our masks. It just seems so much easier and safer to live life concealed behind our masks. I'm sure that you have, like I have, experienced this strange feeling of invisibility and anonymity that comes with mask wearing. It's almost like if I put my mask on, fewer people will recognize me or even notice me, especially my faults. But that is a world to which we cannot return. One day, hopefully soon, we will be back together again physically. When we do, we can join together and proclaim the words from our liturgy, "This is the hour of change." This is the hour where we say, not here, not now, not anymore, will any of us don the masks of fear of speaking openly about reproductive rights and reproductive issues. Instead, we will reveal goodness and godliness in our acceptance and welcoming to actions of bravery and vulnerability. And on that day, we won't need to be commanded to be joyful. Our joy will emanate from our entire being and our entire community by being truly seen. May this be our will and God's will as we turn to page 261 for our blessing of our new month.
Rosh Chodesh Adar, it begins today. Please join me in the English. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Adar hu hayom. The new month of Adar begins today.
May it be your will, God my God, and God of my ancestors, that the coming month bring us peace, full life and blessing. May the promise of your new fill us with well-being. Guide us as we grow, making us complete. May it be your will, God, my God, and God of my ancestors, that the coming month bring us peace, full life and blessing. May the promise of your fill us with well-being. Guide us as we grow, making us complete. מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, מי שעשה ניסים לאמותינו, מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, מי שעשה ניסים לאמותינו.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Allison Golding, and I'm a member of your board of directors. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our service this evening. I'd like to remind you that you can find everything you need to know about Beth Israel and our upcoming events at our website, cbisd.org. I hope you'll join us at this year's drive-through Purim Carnival by following our Yellow Brick Road on Saturday, February 28th from 1 to 4 p.m. Please go to our website to sign up for a designated drive-through time. I'd like to share this thought with you. Today will never come again. Be a blessing, be a friend. Encourage someone, take time to care. Let your words heal and your love shine. Shabbat Shalom.
As our joy multiplies, we also multiply our partnership with our Creator, and we place on ourselves the burden and the joy of that partnership. Won't you please rise for the Aleinu if you're able?
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו
אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Please be seated. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. And when you hear the name of your loved one, we invite you to rise as you honor and grieve for them. We are in the period of Shiva, 7 days after the burial, for Leonid Galperin, father of Michael Galperin and Anna Glusman, grandfather of Julia Galperin. And we are in the period of Shloshim, 30 days after the burial, for Raymond Gallant, Rolf Haas, Violetta Verges Medina, Alberta Preston, William Singer, Geraldine Slesnik, and Marvin Spira. And we remember those who died at this time in years past. Maurice Ackerman, Sharon Marie Alper, Ann Altman, Bertha Ames, Salvador Zikri, Lily Belinsky, Arthur Burson, Saul Blyer, Sally Block, Joseph Bobrow, Sadie Breitbard, Edna Briggs, Emily Brightwood, Joseph Harrison Burns, Maylin Chester, Blanche Cohen, Elliot Cohen, James Davis, Doris Klein Dick, Victor Druskin, Jacob Dubin, Carol Fahlberg, Charles Feinberg, Minna Feldstein, Rebecca Fisher, Sophie Folby, Jacob Friedman, William Friedman, James Goding, Rose Goding, Jean Goldberg, Ida Ruth Goldhammer, Jacob Gordon, Doris Grasshoff, Michael Greenbaum, Mel Greenberg, Samuel Greenberg, Susan Greenberg, Byron Greenberg, Marion Yvonne Greenberg, Jaime Gross, Elaine Gutstadt, Ruth Handler, Paula Hirsch, Shirley Holden, Marvin Israel, Joyce Jacobs, Yetta Jacobs, Lila Glassman Jaffe, Earl Kalal, Herman Kaplan, Miriam Kaplan, Nina Capro, Leon Kay, Isabel Klitzner, Anis Noreen Knotts, Alan R. Critchman, Robert Kritzik, Rosario Kurtz, Hazel Levinson, Bernard Levine, Sarah Mankoff, Sarah Markowitz, Craig Mills, Mo Merkin, Ann Morris, Sarah Rose Muscat, Josephine Nauman, David Overbach, William Pleiner, Max Portugal, Olga Powell, Marcy Raffleson, Lee Raffner, Shirley Rappaport, Ruthie Rifkin, Harry Roller, Sylvia Roller, Minnie Ross, Nadine Savage, Lori Schneider, Elaine Schulman, Beverly L. Silverman, Mildred Spiegel, Gail Spiegel, William Starr, Sander Steinbach, Ida Steinberg, Errol Steiner, Minnie Stern, Roberta Stewart, Ralph R. Temple, Ruth H. Tischler, Joseph M. Dinusatan, Joseph Wasser, Julius Weiss, Ida Mary Weiss, Miriam Weissman, Arlene Weitzen, and Sydney Winnicky. If I haven't shared a name and you are saying Kaddish, please rise and share that name with those you love or write it in the chat for us to know. We rise and we join together, Kaddish Yatom. Itkadal v'itkadash shmei rabbah, bi'alma divra chirte v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam ulolmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. Vitadar, vitale, vitalal, shmei d'kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories always be for blessing. We join together in our closing prayer, Oseh Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.